Beijing Airport. The morning of February the 24th, 1966. A Ghana Airways jet rolls to a stop, and the door opens onto a full state welcome. Honor guard, red carpet, and the Premier of China, Zhou Enlai, waiting at the foot of the stairs. Out steps Osagyefo, the Redeemer. Kwame Nkrumah, President of Ghana, father of African independence, carrying a peace plan he believes can end the war in Vietnam. The ceremony is flawless, the smiles are warm, and every single person on that tarmac except Kwame Nkrumah knows the truth. In the reception room of the state guest house, Zhou Enlai quietly hands him a slip of paper, a news agency wire, a few lines long. Nkrumah reads it, bows his head, his hands tremble. 4,000 miles behind him, his capital fell at dawn. He is a president without a country, and he found out after the welcome ceremony. To understand how the most famous man in Africa lost everything mid-flight, rewind 9 years to the night his star was born. Midnight, March the 6th, 1957, Accra. The Union Jack comes down, and a former teacher, jailed by the British, elected from his prison cell, stands before a roaring crowd in a prison graduate cap and declares the first African colony south of the Sahara free.
At long last, the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
Ghana is not just a new country, it is a starting gun. Within a decade, more than 30 African nations follow it to independence, and Nkrumah becomes the movement's prophet. He plants the flag of Pan-Africanism, hosts the continent's liberation fighters, helps found the Organization of African Unity, and dares to dream out loud of a United States of Africa. He dams the Volta River to power an industrial future, builds schools and clinics where there were none, and tells a divided Cold War world exactly where Ghana stands.
We face in neither east nor west. We face forward.
But the Redeemer is becoming something else. After bombs are thrown at him, and he survives attempt after attempt, Nkrumah stops trusting. The Preventive Detention Act lets him jail opponents without trial, and hundreds disappear into cells. By 1964, Ghana is a one-party state, and he is president for life. The cocoa price collapses, the economy buckles under grand projects, and the man who freed his people now rules them from behind the walls of Flagstaff House, guarded by his own private regiment. Out in the barracks, army officers watch their budgets shrink while the president's guard grows. And in Washington, declassified files show American officials have been quietly tracking the grumbling since 1964, in what one embassy man called intimate contact with the plotters. Then Nkrumah hands his enemies the perfect moment. He announces he will fly to Hanoi into the middle of the Vietnam War as a peacemaker. On February the 21st, 1966, his jet lifts off from Accra. He has 3 days left as president. February the 23rd. Colonel Emmanuel Kotoka and Major Akwasi Afrifa move 600 troops south toward the capital, telling them it is a training exercise, that they are rehearsing to go and fight in Rhodesia. The soldiers clean their weapons for a war that does not exist. Only on the road, in the dark, are they told the real target. Dawn, February the 24th. Operation Cold Chop. The columns hit Flagstaff House and the radio station at first light. The Presidential Guard fights back, briefly, hopelessly. Major General Charles Barwa, the Army's loyal chief of staff, is woken at his home, refuses at gunpoint to join the coup, and is shot dead where he stands. By 6 a.m., the ministers are under arrest. By breakfast, a colonel is at the microphone of Radio Ghana.
Kwame Nkrumah is overthrown, and the myth surrounding him is broken.
The city erupts. Crowds pour into the streets, not to defend their liberator, but to celebrate his fall. His statue outside Parliament House is battered to the ground and smashed to pieces. The prison gates open, and hundreds of his detainees walk free, blinking in the sunlight. And in Washington, the White House can barely contain its delight. A memo slides across President Johnson's desk from his national security aide, Robert Comer. It reads,
The coup in Ghana is another example of a fortuitous windfall. Nkrumah was doing more to undermine our interests than any other black African. The new military regime is almost pathetically pro-Western.
Fortuitous. Windfall. Nkrumah would spend the rest of his life insisting the CIA's fingerprints were all over that dawn, and the files that have surfaced since keep making it harder to call him paranoid. He never set foot in Ghana again. Guinea's president, Sékou Touré, met his fallen hero with a 21-gun salute and did something no leader has done before or since. He made his guest honorary co-president of his own country. From a villa by the sea in Conakry, Nkrumah broadcast to Ghana over the radio, wrote book after book, and waited for a call home that never came. He died in April 1972 in a clinic in Bucharest, still in exile. But here is the twist history saved for last. The colonel who broke him was himself shot dead in a failed coup barely a year later, and today his name marks an airport. Nkrumah's name marks something bigger. His statue stands again in Accra, pieced together in a memorial park where his body now rests. And when the BBC asked African listeners to name their man of the millennium, they did not choose a king, a general, or a billionaire. They chose the man who was overthrown while he was flying. The plane never landed where it was headed, but the idea did. This was the story of Kwame Nkrumah, told the Sankofa way. Go back and get it. If it moved you, tell us in the comments whose story we should tell next. Until then, stay upright.